Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Living the Sweet Life. I'm your host, TJ Sweet, and on this podcast, we are committed to helping you go from where you are to where you want to be. We're going to help you do that by helping you reshape your mindset, live with intention, and look at the world through a grateful lens. So first of all, before we dig into the topic this week, I want to say thank you for dedicating time. Time is probably the most precious resource we have, but you continue to make these podcasts a priority in your life, and I appreciate that, and I'm grateful for that. And as we release these episodes every Monday, every Mindset Monday, it's important that we have reminders that the episodes come out, but also reminders that we're making the decision and commitment to learn and grow. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button now so you get those notifications every Monday. And as you know, we call them Mindset Monday. So this week, I want to talk about something that is incredibly important. It's something that we probably get uncomfortable with, but it's also something that it's very uncomfortable to not be comfortable with. This idea of feedback, this idea of actually being able to share how someone can grow, but also get feedback and how to share feedback in a meaningful way. Because ultimately, we're all trying to learn and grow in everything that we're doing, whether it's in our career, in our personal lives. But as a leader, as somebody who has the opportunity to influence others, we can't just deliver feedback in the same way that we've always been doing it. Our employees are different. The environment's different. The feedback we need to give is different. So my challenge for you, even if you feel comfortable giving feedback now, let's dig into this topic about how to master the art of giving feedback so that you can be a better leader for everyone on your team. And really, this idea of feedback is about how to foster growth and improvement with your team. So feedback is obviously one of the most important and powerful tools that a leader has to drive growth, foster trust, and build high-performance team. And yet giving and receiving feedback can feel challenging and scary, and even for the most seasoned leaders. But when you do it well, feedback can empower individuals, create a culture of this continuous improvement, and propel an organization forward. But the art of feedback requires more than just yearly performance reviews. It demands intentionality, respect, and a commitment to open communication. Now, as a leader, I've learned that feedback isn't just simply a mechanism to fix issues. It's a tool to cultivate strengths and inspire innovation and fuel motivation. By creating a feedback-rich environment, we empower our teams to really recognize and see their full potential and take actionable steps towards improvement. We're going to talk through how to master the art of feedback and build a culture of excellence and trust. But first, we got to talk about why feedback even matters at all. So constructive feedback offers a unique opportunity for growth. It helps everyone on your team understand their strengths and identify areas for improvement, driving personal and professional development. When employees know where they stand and what they can work on, they're always going to be more engaged, more motivated, and aligned with the organization's goals. But this clarity enables them to contribute meaningfully in creating a workplace culture where everyone is committed to doing their best, to doing everything that they can, not as little as they have to. Also, feedback strengthens relationships and builds trust. And when you commit to delivering feedback openly and fairly, leaders demonstrate respect for their team's potential and a genuine investment in their growth. This transparency leads to deeper trust and a sense of psychological safety. We're going to talk a lot about that, which is essential for any team to thrive. Let's talk about how do we give some effective feedback. And for feedback to be effective, it must be constructive, timely, and specific. It's very simple. So first thing you have to do is be specific and action-oriented. General feedback gets general results, and it often has employees feeling like they have to guess on what they should do differently. So instead, focus on specific behaviors or actions and outcomes and actually suggest actionable changes for them. For example, rather than saying, improve your communication, say something like, in our next presentation, let's focus on emphasizing data behind our decision making. It will add clarity for the client. Specific feedback is much easier to act on, and it always leads to immediate improvement because there's a sense of direction. The next thing is to focus on behavior, not personality. The goal of feedback is not to criticize the individual, but to address actions and results. Make sure that you keep your feedback focused on behaviors rather than personality traits. For instance, instead of saying, "You're disorganized," try something like, "I've noticed the project deadlines were missed and it affected the team's timeline. Let's find ways to create a structured approach for next time." This keeps the conversation constructive and focused on improvement, on what you want instead of what you don't want. Now, the next thing we have to do is we have to deliver feedback in a timely manner. Feedback is the most effective when it's given close to when the opportunity arises. If an employee performs exceptionally well on a project or conversely misses the mark, address it right away. Timely feedback is not only more relevant, but it also reinforces a culture of accountability and responsiveness. You make people feel seen. The other thing we have to do is encourage two-way dialogue. Feedback is not a one-sided conversation. By inviting the team members that you have to share their thoughts and ask questions and discuss their challenges, you cultivate and foster an open environment, right? That psychological safety we've talked about. You should ask some questions like, "How do you feel about this feedback?" Or maybe, "What support do you need to make these changes?" This approach really allows the employee to feel heard and promote self-reflection, helping the team internalize the feedback. Now, there are a couple more important ways to do this too, but you have to balance the positive and constructive feedback. Effective feedback acknowledges strengths and offers encouragement in addition to highlighting areas for growth. But we have to lead with positive feedback or recognize the person's strengths first. But when you do that, it can sometimes soften the delivery of constructive criticism and help the employee feel valued. This approach also reinforces positive behaviors, ensuring that the feedback isn't just solely perceived as negative. But we also have to do some things ourselves. We have to model receptiveness to feedback. Leaders set the tone for feedback in an organization. When we're open to receiving feedback ourselves, we demonstrate a willingness to learn and grow, which is one of the things that encourages the entire team to adopt the same growth mindset that we've recently talked about. Ask your team for feedback on your performance and show that you're committed to personal and organizational improvement. This type of transparency can significantly enhance trust and establish a culture where feedback is seen as a tool for mutual growth. So let's kind of talk about how we do that. Now we know how important it is, but some ways to actually implement a feedback culture. It starts with a consistency and a genuine commitment to open communication. Now, obviously that sounds easier said than done, but we're going to talk a little bit about how to integrate this feedback into your culture and your routine. First thing you have to do is schedule regular feedback sessions with your team. Beyond annual or semi-annual reviews, you have to schedule regular check-ins where feedback is exchanged in both directions. You listen and you give it. This ensures that feedback is not only timely, but also integrated into a culture of continuous improvement, and it takes the fear away from getting feedback. The second thing we have to do is we have to offer training on how to give and receive feedback to our leaders and to our teams. A lot of employees and even leaders struggle with giving feedback. Training programs or workshops can equip your team with the proper skills that help them give and receive constructive feedback in a respectful and meaningful way. One of the ways to do that is to encourage peer-to-peer feedback. Feedback doesn't just have to come from you as the leader. And by cultivating and fostering a culture where peers can give each other constructive feedback and preserve relationships, you create a self-sustaining environment of growth and support. This approach can also build more camaraderie with the team and make them feel like they're more working together instead of opposing each other. And one way we have to track these things is, we have some tools that we could use that help monitor progress and keep feedback visible. And There's a bunch of digital platforms that can facilitate ongoing feedback and track your development and keep employees engaged in their growth journey. Again, if we don't document it, it didn't happen. So using a tool for regular feedback also reinforces transparency and accountability. Don't rely on your memory, rely on your tools. So what's the power of a feedback culture? Well, a culture of feedback really goes far beyond improving just individual performance. It has a ripple effect on the entire business, the entire organization. When feedback is consistently offered, team members feel supported, understood, and they know that they're doing well and that they can improve. This clarity not only boosts morale with the team, but it also drives productivity because they're excited to give back because they know they're learning and growing with purpose. It also reduces turnover and turns more of the strengths into the organization as part of the culture. And when people feel valued and heard and encouraged, they're far more likely to give their best, leading to innovations and collaborations and a high-performing team. In my personal experience, feedback also helps break down silos, as team members are more willing to work together and support each other when they have a mutual commitment to growth. It doesn't feel like pointing fingers. It feels like reaching out to grow together. So how do you do this? And if you're sitting there thinking, what do I do next? Let's really kind of sit down and think about, as leaders, we are responsible for setting the standard of how feedback is given and received within our team. So take a moment now to reflect on your current feedback process, if you have one. And is there one area where you could make feedback more impactful? Perhaps it's making it more specific, in a more timely fashion, or more frequent. Choose one of those actions that you can take now to improve your feedback approach and make it a priority to implement this change. Communicate that you want to make this change, because by mastering this art of feedback that we talked about, we create a path for individual and collective growth. And as we elevate the standards within our team, we set the stage for this idea of greater success and fulfillment within our organizations. And, we have to embrace feedback, not only as a tool for improvement, like I said earlier, but as a cornerstone of a thriving and resilient culture. So if you're sitting there listening to this and you find that you're interested in exploring how to create this feedback-rich culture or need guidance on implementing some of these effective practices, I'd be thrilled to connect with you. And through my executive coaching and the different organizational strategy I help with, I help a lot of leaders like you build feedback mechanisms that support growth and trust and accountability across every level of the organization. So together, we can shape a culture where everyone is empowered and inspired to achieve their best. And oftentimes, the things that go unsaid are the most important and impactful things. And I know as leaders, you're worried about hurting people's feelings when you give feedback, but you're making it more about you in those moments. When you feel your heart pounding, when you're about to give feedback to somebody, you're making it about you. Think about the idea of feedback is expected as an employee, as a leader. And so really, you're doing what you should be doing for your team in the best way. You're helping them grow. You're helping them develop with intention. And oftentimes we talk about how to avoid burnout or how to feel more balanced. This feedback and the way that you create a culture of communication may just be the thing that you need to make each of your team members feel seen, heard, valued, and appreciated. But we have to do the work inside of ourselves by learning how to receive and give feedback in a meaningful way. So I hope this episode inspires you to start to think about how you give feedback, but then also be willing to hear how you receive feedback from your team and your other leaders. Be open. Don't just say, how's my feedback? Be specific about it, like we talked about. As we do on Mondays, right? We start by winning the week on Mindset Mondays. So maybe this is the week that you intentionally work on giving and receiving feedback with intention. So I appreciate you listening. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet. All these episodes are for you, and they're going to help you become the leader that you know you want to be, maybe the leader that you know you need to grow into. Either way, no matter where you are in your journey, these episodes are for you. And I'll remind you, like I do on every episode, that you always have the power and the choice to reshape your mindset, live with intention, and look at the world through a grateful lens. Till the next episode, never stop.